Okay, so now let's look at actually one of the most important topics in Grasshopper, and that is the list structure. What exactly are lists and trees in Grasshopper, and how can you control or better understand them? I have a simple example actually that will show you that, and I just want to take you through that. So we do not need to script actually now. It's more important that you just understand how we define lists in Grasshopper. So what I've done here in the beginning, I have just defined a point, as you can see here on the Rhino canvas. It's just one simple point. And if I hook up a panel, which is just an item that lets you display the information that is coming out of a component, you can see that I have actually now what is called a list with only one item. So I just have one item, and you can always just understand lists and trees actually as shopping lists. Okay, I have currently one shopping list, and I just have one item on that. Could be like apples, let's say, okay? That is already my basic list. And you can see that also in the wire display. The wire display here is, as you can see, just one thick line, okay? And if you see this thick line, you understand that you only have one item and it's a simple list. That's basically what this line is showing you. If I continue on now and create a series of points, let's say I have a script that just allows me to have 10 different points arrayed along the x-axis. And we will understand, of course, how to script something like that. But let's say we have a case where we actually have in the output a collection of points, which are in this case, let's say 10. And now we have a different set of lists. Now we have a list that actually has more than one item. And if a simple list has more than one item, you can see that it's now kind of this double line that is displayed as a wire. So the wire is always telling you, hey, look, your data structure just changed. It's not only one item in that list, but you now have a list with an infinite count of elements. This could be literally millions of items. It's still just one list with million shopping items, let's say, okay? And the wire display will always look the same, which is this double line, which is telling you a list, okay? And again, it's a shopping list, and we have now 10 items. We have bananas, apples, etc., all the different fruits that you would like, okay? That is basically a list. Now, there's also one more complex structure, which is called the tree. And a tree in Grasshopper actually defines a multitude of lists, which are all combined into one tree, more or less. So let's say we together have 5 persons with their own shopping list, and each of those persons has 10 items on their individual lists. So I have 10 items, you have 10 items, and then 3 other people, or how many other people, have 10 different items on the shopping lists. And a tree will just put them all together in one data structure, but you can always access or read them as individual lists. That's something that we can understand as a tree branch or a tree structure. And you can see now what I have here, for instance. I've took my original points that were arrayed, and now per point, I treat them as persons, and these persons will now have 10 other points that are going in the y direction, which I can show you with this point count, okay? And if I want to show it again, I can just hook up a point list to that, and maybe display off my items here, and maybe also put off my grid so you can actually see that, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm treating each of those persons as one individual person, and each of those persons has about 10 items in their own lists. And you can see that the individuals are actually colored different. So that means that Grasshopper understands them as separate lists, and in that separate list you have the same color grading. That means they have these many items. And if you have this Param Viewer, which I will show you, but in the params you have in util this tree Param Viewer with the tree icon. If you double click it, you can see actually the tree structure behind it. And it will tell you, currently it will show you the tree branches. So basically that's the whole idea. You have basically a stem, and from that base you can have different branches of information that pretty much branch off of a basic input, which is your tree stem, let's say. And here you can see that I have 10 branches that all go away, and those branches can contain as many information as they want, right? They can have different amount of information, so the shopping list could only have 2 items or 100 items, doesn't really matter. It will just tell you currently you have 10 individual shopping lists. And the interesting thing about that, why we do this, is because we can manipulate those list and tree structures. So we could say, hey, from all of the different lists that you have, which are combined into this tree structure, give me only always the first item. No? So I could, for instance, take the list item component and say, give me all of those, and I want to have the first place in that list of each of those different lists, which are now a tree structure, right? And I could say, okay, give me maybe with a slider, give me always the second position. No? So let's say I personally had a list with items, and on this place I had bananas as my item. And maybe you, as a second one, had maybe something totally different like napkins, whatever, right? But this just allows us to more or less manipulate those individual lists, which are now combined into this tree structure with those branches, and pick and choose maybe some of those items, and then do different kind of logics with them. So that's the basic core idea behind those tree structures, that you actually have those different lists all put in together, as you can also read them here. You can see this is the first list, then I have the second list, the third, and as I go along, they are all kind of compressed. Okay, and we will of course learn more and more about the trees. I mean, in the first instance, it's very hard to understand it if you're totally new to this, but we have the whole series to understand that. But one very important thing is that this tree structure now is also displayed as a wire type, and you can see it as this dashed line. Okay, and these are my 3 different types of how I can see what kind of data is actually going through different components. So if I see this line, a thick line, I know it's just one item, so just one very simple list. I have this double line, which will tell me, okay, I'm dealing with a list actually with an infinite amount of items in that list. And with this dashed line, I know, okay, I'm actually dealing with a tree structure. That means I have different amount of lists all put in together in one data structure, which is a tree. And I can now understand this with the dashed line. And those are the three basic lines that we have to look at and understand in Grasshopper. Let's say you can't see that. Maybe you have a problem that they all look the same, right? This could be a problem that sometimes happens actually. And to ensure that you actually see those wires as they should actually be looking in this case, where they show you the data structure that's flowing, go to Display and then go to Draw Fancy Wires. That's the name. If you click on it once, let's say, they all look the same. I can't distinguish them anymore. They all look the same, and I can't see with the first sight which kind of structure is flowing. If I want that, I go to Display and I say, yes, please draw the fancy wires, so I understand the basic data structure that is going through these components. Okay, so again, I'm not expecting you to understand this at the first beginning and the first set, but just make sure that you understand the core logic, that you have 3 different types of how wires are displayed. Simple, one item, one list. Double line, list with infinite amount of numbers. And then the tree structures in Grasshopper, which are always shown with this dashed line. Okay, so now let's continue on. You can also find this in the templates. Hi, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please feel free to leave a comment, a like, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Also note that this video is part of a 13-hour-long online tutorial series called Algorithmic Skyscraper Design. You can find it on my e-learning platform, Design Upgrade. That is courses.design-upgrade.com. To get access to all online courses, just sign up and secure yourself an all-access membership. Choose one of the many courses available with one new added course each month. In the Algorithmic Skyscraper Design, I will take you from zero to hero for practice-based visual scripting inside Rhino. Learn also to create advanced environmental simulations and design user interfaces with Grasshopper. So see you there, and let us make some design upgrades.